Lizzie, don't forget to feed the puppy, shouted my grandma from across the house. I won't, Grandma, I replied. I loved my grandma. We lived together since I was very little. I had no idea where my parents were, and I appreciated that my grandma had taken care of me. It was just the two of us for as long as I could remember. And now we had a cute little addition, a puppy named Max. Before I go on, make sure you like and subscribe to this channel if you want to have cute things too. I promise it really works. As a teenager, I always found it difficult to have a normal life. I had too many responsibilities because my grandma was quite old. At times, it was almost like I was the adult and she was the child. Sometimes I wanted to go out and have fun, but I couldn't. I had to stay home and take care of her. In addition to all my responsibilities, we were sort of poor. I couldn't manage a part-time job, so we survived on my grandma's pension, which wasn't a lot. We never starved, but we could only afford the basics. I felt envious of other people a lot of the time, especially at school. Most of the kids in my neighborhood came from wealthy families. Some of my classmates already had their own cars, while I had to walk to school. I couldn't even afford a bicycle. This all meant that I was quite unpopular at school. I had a few average friends, and that was it. My clothes weren't as amazing as the popular girls, and I had no money to spend on makeup. Boys never noticed me because I was so plain. I always imagined what it would be like to be rich and popular, to have everyone wishing they could hang out with me. One day I was sitting on a bench outside watching a bunch of boys slobber over Jennifer, the most popular girl at our school. My friend Leanne suddenly jumped into the seat next to mine and almost pushed me off with excitement. "Hey, Lizzie, have you heard of this new app? It's so cool!" she exclaimed while showing me her phone. "Gosh, Leanne, calm down. What is it?" I replied. "TikTok. I spent hours on it last night. I barely got any sleep. Look at this funny guy." She laughed while showing me a video of a guy with blue hair pretending to be a whale. I laughed too because it was actually pretty funny. "There are dance challenges too. Look," she said. Wow, I thought. This is awesome. This was the first time I ever experienced TikTok. We spent hours just browsing through dance videos, jokes, and pranks. I hadn't felt that happy in a while because it really helped me to forget about my miserable life. That afternoon when I got home, the first thing I did was download TikTok. I spent the entire night browsing through videos. I completely forgot about my homework or any chores that I had to do. I didn't even speak to my grandma. After at least 6 hours of just mindlessly browsing videos, I got a brilliant idea. Maybe I could make videos too. Could TikTok put me on the path towards popularity? I could see it already. Boys fainting at my feet and everyone wanting to be my friend. I had to make it work. I decided I'd get started the next day. It would be Saturday, so I'd have lots of time to plan and experiment. First, I needed a partial makeover. I used a few dollars I had saved to buy a cheap, cute outfit and some eyeshadow. I found a proper location in my house and set up my phone to take a video. I decided to do a short dance. When I finally got it right, I uploaded it and waited for my millions of likes and followers. I kept staring at my phone waiting for someone to react, but no one did. I decided to do something else to distract myself. A few hours later, I opened the app again and saw that I had a few views and likes. Aha! I thought, this is the beginning. The next week at school, I went through my usual daily motions. I figured that no one there had seen my video until one afternoon while I was walking to class. The hottest guy at school, Chad, brushed past me and said, "Liz, nice dance." And he winked. Oh my gosh, I thought. Chad liked my dance. I needed to make more videos to attract more followers, I thought. But what else could I do? Aha! I'll have to make my videos a bit more scandalous, I concluded. I decided that I would make my outfits more appealing and I'd learn how to do my makeup properly. I needed to steal some money from my grandmother because I just didn't have enough to buy some new outfits. That night, I snuck into her purse and took enough to buy some new clothes and makeup. It didn't even bother me that this was supposed to be our money for food. The next day, I went on a mini shopping spree. I bought some revealing outfits and some makeup with the remaining money. I rushed home to get started on my videos. "Lizzie, dear, could you please cook something for dinner? I'm a bit too tired," my grandma said as I walked through the door. "Just order a pizza or something. I'm really busy. Please, don't disturb me," I replied and walked to my room. She looked a bit sad, but I didn't care. She'd appreciate what I did when I became famous. I put on the most seductive outfit I had ever worn in my life, then watched a few makeup tutorials and transformed my face. When I was done, I looked in the mirror and I nearly fainted. I was gorgeous. I set up my phone and got to work. It took a bit of practice, and I only uploaded my video when I made sure I got all the right angles. After that, I was exhausted, so I changed my clothes and went to bed. The next morning, I checked my phone and realized I had gained 100 new followers. I concluded that what I was doing was working and that I should keep going. I continued making dance videos and gained more and more followers. In at least a month, everyone at school knew who I was. I was becoming more popular each day. Chad even asked me out. And after a few dates, he asked me to become his girlfriend. I said yes, but I also said yes to Connor, another hot guy I was seeing. So I had 2 boyfriends. What an upgrade from my completely boring life. After a few months, different brands approached me to advertise for them. They'd send me free products if I promoted them in my videos. I got loads of new clothes, which I was able to use to make myself more popular in my videos. They also sent me money, and I was able to repay my grandma after stealing from her. My life was perfect. Everyone wanted to be my friend, and I had 2 gorgeous boyfriends. What could go wrong? Well, everything. Little did I know that my life was about to change for the worst. One Sunday afternoon, I had just received another hot outfit from one of the clothing companies I was promoting. It was a very tight pair of hot pink pants and a cute crop top to match. I quickly put it on and couldn't get over how flattering I looked. I carefully did my hair and my makeup. Then I searched for the perfect song I could use to make another seductive dance video. When I found it, I recorded my dance and uploaded it before I reviewed the video. This is definitely going to get me more followers and likes, I said while smiling. I put my phone down for a while and I went to do something else. Afterwards, I decided I should get changed, shower, and go to sleep. It wasn't until I took off the pants that I realized they had completely ripped in the back. Oh my gosh! Did this happen during my dance? I gasped. I grabbed my phone and saw tons of notifications. I opened TikTok and saw 5,000 new followers and 10,000 likes. I watched the video I uploaded. It was awesome in the beginning, but as I turned around to do some sort of split, the pants tore and my ugly underwear was almost completely exposed. I was wearing my most unflattering pair. They were old, discolored, and even had some holes. I wanted to cry. I deleted the video, but it was too late. Many people had already taken screen recordings and were sharing among themselves on WhatsApp and other platforms. Someone had even uploaded my video to Instagram. The next day at school was a complete disaster. As soon as I walked in, someone pointed at me and shouted, "Hey, it's the granny panty girl!" Everyone turned around and laughed at me. I went to my class and sat in my usual seat at the front. I tried to bury my head in a book so no one would notice me. That didn't work at all because soon I felt something hit my shoulder. I turned around and everyone started throwing rolled up balls of paper at me. "Why are you doing this to me?" I screamed. "You're just a loser who is trying to become popular. You have all these cool outfits and awesome makeup, but you can't even afford some proper underwear," said Jennifer, who had been really upset with me since I became more popular than her. "Yeah, ew. Granny panties? Seriously? I'm too embarrassed to be your boyfriend any longer." Laughed Chad while he pulled Jennifer close toward him. "You're her boyfriend? I thought she was with Connor," said Leanne, who was supposed to be my friend. Now they both would know that I was playing them. "Anyway, we still care about you. We all came together to collect this donation for you," Jennifer continued while holding Chad's hand. She walked up to me and gave me a huge gift bag. When I opened it, it was full of new panties. "We like to help the less fortunate," she smirked. Everyone continued laughing at me and making hurtful remarks. I was so sad that I picked up my backpack and ran all the way home. As I barged through the front door to my house, I burst into tears. "Sweetie, what's wrong?" asked my grandma. "Everything is wrong. I can never go back there. I can never show my face in public again." I continued crying and ran to my room and locked the door. I couldn't explain to her. She'd never understand. I picked up my phone and deleted my TikTok account. I spent an entire week in my room trying to figure out what to do. I was mostly clueless. After a few days, I decided to go to the mall to cheer myself up. As I walked to my favorite makeup store, a little boy tugged at his mother's arm and said, "Mommy, look, it's a granny panty girl. Ha 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 ha." Instead of correcting him, she laughed too. It seemed that everyone knew who I was, and there was nowhere I could go to escape the ridicule. The image with my awful underwear was everywhere. People had made all sorts of memes and funny remix videos. Well, they thought it was funny. I found it all so devastating. I felt disappointed that I had worked so hard to gain so many followers and so much popularity, and in a second, it was all gone, and my perfect life was about to be worse than it originally was. I begged my grandma to find a way for us to move to another state so I could start all over. I could completely change my appearance and go to another school where I could start over. Unfortunately, we could not afford it. I wasn't making any more money from TikTok, and we had no savings. I had to go back to school to face the shame of it all. I went back to being the unpopular girl that nobody wanted to be around. I went from 2 boyfriends to 0. I didn't even have friends anymore. TikTok ruined my life.
Hi, I know I should introduce myself, but I think it's better to remain anonymous. After everything that happened to me, I don't want this video to be blocked, just like my TikTok account was. You see, I'm only 12 years old, but I'm already super famous online. If I told you my name, you would surely recognize it. So let's just say I'm called Megan, because it's odd for you to be sitting there listening to my story without any name to call me by. So you are probably wondering why a 12-year-old's account was banned from TikTok and how I lost all my following if I was so big. Let me tell you about it. Really, it's not easy talking about this because I'm still a bit heartbroken. I had tasted fame, and now it's all been taken away from me. At first, I used the app just to watch other people's accounts. I found it to be the coolest thing in the world. I was online almost every waking hour. I even began using it back when it was called Musical.ly. In the beginning, I didn't even upload any videos myself. I was too shy to do it. I wondered if people would mock me, so I just limited myself to watching other users. It was so much fun, and people were so incredibly talented. I wondered how they could post all those fun videos and how they got so talented. I wanted to be just like them. Now, I know that it's not easy being that good, so I eventually decided to try and post my very first video. It was a mess, a big mess, believe me. I wasn't too talented at all, and no one watched it. I couldn't blame them since it was really bad. Why would anyone be interested in my account when there were so many amazing creators out there? I was determined to become famous and be as cool as all the people I admired. This would take a lot of hard work, but I knew I could do it. I set my mind on it and began practicing every single day for hours and hours. I'd play videos I thought were great over and over again in an endless loop. Then I'd mimic their dance moves and the way they sang. I would practice in front of the mirror, in the school hallways, on my way home. There wasn't a single moment of the day in which I didn't think about TikTok. Yes, I know, I sound like I was obsessed. I'm not going to lie, I really was. To me, this app was everything. I could become super famous and live off my talents instead of getting a real job. That sounded so great. I also began to think about fun new ideas. I asked myself what I'd love to see in a video and then scribbled it down in a notebook I carried around everywhere I went. In all honesty, I stopped doing my homework and caring about anything else in my life. I did really poorly at school, and my parents became super worried. They asked me what was going on and why I didn't seem to be interested in the hobbies I used to adore. I told them they wouldn't understand. How could they, when neither my mom nor my dad even knew what TikTok was? I noticed how popular some users were getting. People like Charli D'Amelio and her sister. There were so many famous TikTokers, and I was sure they were earning lots and lots of money. I would analyze their videos constantly and take notes about what made them so cool. When I got better at dancing, I decided it was time to upload new videos of my own. I began mimicking other famous TikTokers' dancing moves, and I immediately began getting lots of viewers. People thought I was so cool and that I was so talented. I decided not to delete my first few videos, so everyone commented on how much I had improved. Everyone wanted to know how I had gotten so good so fast. Of course, I didn't tell them that I practiced for hours and hours every single day. I didn't want them to know I was super obsessed. Instead, I played it cool and pretended that I was just naturally talented. I told them that the first videos were a joke. They all thought I was the coolest girl online, and I was only 12 years old. That was so amazing. I began getting millions and millions of views and followers. People watched my every video obsessively, just like I had done with other popular users back when I was just another nobody. Surely by now you are wondering who I am. I told you before, I simply can't tell you my real name. Just call me Megan. If I tell you who I am, maybe my new TikTok will get taken down, and I don't want this happening all over again. Losing my voice once was already terrible. I can't have it happen twice. It would get me so sad. I wasn't merely famous online, mind you. People recognized me at my school. They all ran up to me whenever I walked into the building or into the classroom. They asked me lots of questions. I felt like I was being hounded by the paparazzi. It was so cool. Soon, I became the most popular girl at school. Even older students wanted to hang out with me. Everyone wanted to be my friend, and they brought me all kinds of gifts. People would ask me if they could appear in a few of my videos alongside me, but I always refused. I didn't want to share the spotlight after all. I always had a good excuse to say no, of course. I couldn't admit that I was worried someone might outshine me. It became super stressful to balance my regular life and my fame. Believe me when I say that I began doing even worse at school. My parents were at their wits' end. They didn't know what to do about me, and nothing they said affected me at all. I soon realized that most of the new friends I was making were really fake. They only wanted to be close to me because of my popularity. They didn't care about my feelings or my problems. When I asked them to help me study so that my grades would go up, they tried to convince me to make another video or go out shopping. It was getting so crazy and out of control. I mean, I was just 12, and people began recognizing me on the street. My parents didn't like this one bit. They were worried someone would end up hurting me. My account was blowing up. There were so many viewers, and my fans were very supportive. People really liked what I was doing. It was amazing to be that popular, and everyone seemed to love me. Sure, there were a few haters, but that was something that came with fame, and I kind of liked it as well. I was a bit out of control, to be perfectly honest. Then one day, the worst happened. When I tried to open the app, I noticed I had been locked out. It was so weird. I didn't understand what on earth was going on. At first, I thought that it was simply a mistake and that I would be able to get online on another phone. But no, it kept on lagging. It was so weird. I got all these different types of errors. Eventually, I decided to send an inquiry to the app's developers and decided I needed to wait for their reply. After all, there didn't seem to be anything else I could do. I thought it was just a mistake or something like that, until my best friend called me. She was freaking out, and I asked her what was going on. Casey, my friend, explained that my account had been deleted and that she couldn't access any of my videos. I didn't appear anywhere at all. I didn't understand how that was even possible. My account had basically disappeared completely. The previous night, I had been able to upload a video, no problem, and now I wasn't even in the app at all. After doing some research, I realized that for some reason, my account had been banned. That's why it wasn't showing up. I was sure it had been some kind of silly mistake, so I waited for the reply of the app's administrators. The response took 2 whole weeks to arrive. I was freaking out by then and had sent them a lot of new emails. I tried creating a new account, but it didn't work either. I was so worried and I didn't understand how this could be happening. I expected it all to be solved super quickly, but no, it was the complete opposite. When I got their email, they explained that I had been banned because I lied during my registration. Imagine my shock when I read what they told me. Apparently, I had to be 13 or older to use the app. Since I was just 12, I lied and said that I was a year older and just opened an account with false information. I was devastated. All my followers were gone overnight. I couldn't understand why they were targeting me. After all, there were lots of kids doing the same thing I did. The internet is filled with people that lie about their identity. It was so unfair. I was so angry and tried to argue with them. They refused to change their minds though, and the account remained blocked. I couldn't get online, and no one could see my videos either. The decision was final. At school, things got bad as well. All the people who had pretended to be my friends began turning their backs on me. Now that I wasn't popular any longer, they weren't interested in hanging out with me. I felt so lonely, but at least I discovered who my true friends were. Casey, of course, stayed by my side all through this mess. I finally told my parents what was going on, and they got me a tutor to help me catch up with my classmates. My grades were slowly improving, and I believe I've learned my lesson. I still want to be famous, but now I know I have to be way more careful about it. When I turn 13, I'll be opening my account again. They won't be able to close it down since I'll really have the right age to register then, but I won't let myself become so obsessed again. This time, I'll balance my study time and my TikTok time much more wisely. My parents promised they'd help me so that I keep getting good grades and making money. They don't quite understand why being popular is so important for me, but they are trying to get to know me better. I love finally being able to get along with them. I didn't realize how much I missed being able to talk to them without getting into a screaming match. Honestly, I hope that when I get back online, my fan base will come back as well. I think that they might recognize my face and watch my videos all over again. I don't know if I'll be that lucky, but the last thing you lose is hope. So, what do you think? Is it possible to recover your popularity once you've lost it? Also, if you could become super popular for a single skill, what would it be? Let me know your opinion in the comments. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and check out other videos in the channel.
It was a normal day at school when I had to go to the guidance counselor to talk about applying to colleges. I went in super excited and ready because I had been told that with my grades and accomplishments, all I had to do was pick. My guidance counselor greeted me at the door to her office saying, "Hi, sweetie, let's get started. Before this crazy story continues, please take a second to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell." I began babbling on and on about what I wanted to do in the future, and then she brought my attention to college essays. My shoulders fell and my smile collapsed. Ugh, I really didn't want to write one. She began explaining to me the different topics I could talk about, and I knew what she had in mind without her needing to say it. My adoption. "It could really make you stand out," she said. I replied, "I know, it's just not something we talk about at home." The interaction reminded me of when I was little and nobody believed I was even related to my siblings. At birthday parties, they would always ask me, "Where's your mommy?" when she was standing right next to me. My adoption was never a secret because it was obvious. I looked completely different from my family. When I got home, I brought it up during dinner. My parents visibly choked on their food. Wasn't that weird? I mean, it's obvious to all of us. Why is it taboo? I didn't want to make them uncomfortable, so I just changed the subject. Now, don't imagine the conversation was ever lively. It wasn't like that at my house. Even as a kid, I was always running around and trying to live to the fullest, while my family was always tame and my siblings preferred to walk. After dinner, I began looking through photo albums. The dusty ones at the back of the shelves we never really touch. I saw baby pictures of me and how young my mom and dad looked. I started digging through cabinets and drawers, trying to find my adoption papers or my birth certificate. Every time I thought I was finally pulling out the file I was looking for, it wasn't it. I was looking through my siblings' papers, which my organized parents kept in the same folder, but mine were missing. Wasn't that strange? I thought maybe they had mine separate because I was adopted, but why would they? I nearly turned the house upside down looking for those damn papers. Looking in every corner of the house, nothing. I was absent-mindedly scrolling on my laptop. I was stressed because that really could have been a good college essay. When I thought, why not Google myself? Who knows? Maybe I could find something. I typed my name in, honestly not expecting much, but what I saw changed my life. There was a website dedicated to me. Me. I thought, why would someone make a website for me? It had my full name, my birthday, and even the hospital I was born at. It had to be me. There was no way someone exactly like me just happened to be born at the same hospital with the same name. My eyes widened as I read the text. I was dead? How was that possible? I was very much alive, sitting there reading about my death? There were pictures of my family there, my biological family. They all looked like me in one way or another. Some had my same nose and others my exact eye color and shape. But they gave me up for adoption. Why did they think I was dead? My head was spinning. I felt faint. Days passed and I found myself looking at that family all the time. I downloaded the picture of them on my phone, and I'd look at it, wondering if they're like me in personality too. I almost got caught looking at this seemingly random group of people by my little sister, but I quickly turned my phone off. Even in my dreams, I saw these people. I had a dream that I came home from school, but that when I opened the door, I was in this warm, loud environment full of lively chatter, and that I found my biological family in the kitchen, making dinner together, like I've always wanted to do with my family. When I woke up from that dream, I raced into my parents' bedroom and found them watching a movie together. Why does it say I'm dead on the internet? I asked them. I saw the look they shared and immediately knew I was right to be suspicious. Well? I demanded. I know I sounded spoiled talking to my parents like that, but I was scared, and I was right to be. My mom began tearing up, something I had never seen before. My dad started yelling at me for upsetting my mom and told me to get out. I huffed and grabbing my keys ran out of the house. I took the bus for a few stops and then got off at the hospital where I was born. I went to the front desk and asked if they had any information about a baby who was declared dead some years ago. The lady at the desk shook her head and said the information was confidential, which honestly I expected. I then started crying. I mean, fully sobbing into my hands. That got her attention, and she assumed I was related to a baby that had died. She called over this old nurse and told me to follow her. The old lady was sketchy, to say the least. She looked really grumpy and suspicious of me as she walked to a room down the hall, very far from everything else. When she opened the door, I noticed it was quite a large room. She stood there watching me, but I asked her for privacy and she left. The room was full of filing cabinets. Oh my God, I thought. All of them had years on them and were full to the brim with files, each one with a death certificate for a baby. I had a feeling there were just too many to be normal. The most recent file was from the day before. There was an address in there, and although I felt disrespectful, I snapped a picture of it. I also found my own file and took pictures of that, but I felt fine doing that because it was me. I went to the most recent couple's home. I don't know what came over me, but as soon as the door opened and a tired-looking woman stood before me, I told her everything. I started ranting about everything I had seen and even tearing up. I told her everything about the file cabinets, and she started tearing up too. She called her husband over and they both listened eagerly to what I had to say. When I was done ranting, they invited me into their home and we had a cup of coffee. I thanked them and the man said, "You gave us hope that we really will get to see our child. It's the least we can do." They told me everything that had occurred the day before, and the only thing that really stood out was the sketchy nurse. They described her to me in detail, shocking detail, because she was so sketchy that they remembered her perfectly well. Her name was on every single document in that room. So I connected the dots and realized she took the babies. The nurse must have sold those babies to other couples. She was stealing them and faking their deaths to get away with it. I couldn't believe how people could be so cruel. And even worse, I was one of those stolen babies. It was getting late, so I said goodbye to the couple and went home. When I arrived, my parents were waiting for me in the living room. My siblings were all upstairs, and they wanted to talk to me alone. My dad started asking me to stop talking about that subject because it made my mom uncomfortable. He didn't get a chance to get another word in because I interrupted them asking how they could adopt a stolen baby. My mom broke down crying and my dad comforted her. "You have no idea how hard we tried to have a baby," she cried. She said they felt guilty when she finally did get pregnant and had my siblings. Everything she said felt like a slap in the face. I demanded, "Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you take me to my family?" My mom screamed back, "Because we love you!" But did they really? They always treated me worse than the rest. So did they really love me? I went up to my room and locked myself in. Morning came, but I didn't want to face my parents. I grabbed some cash and stuff I needed, shoved them in a bag, and climbed out of my window. I got lost for a while, but soon enough, I was in a cozy neighborhood, very different from mine. There were loads of people on their gardens and lawns, or kids playing on the street. I walked around and felt like I was home. I knew there was a big chance that the family had moved, but my gut told me they were there. I stood in front of a beautiful house. I could hear chatter all the way from the sidewalk in front. When I rang the doorbell, the chatter stopped. My heart was beating out of my chest. What if they weren't here? What if they forgot about me? What if they just don't want me? What if my last thought was cut off by someone opening the door? In front of me stood a girl. She looked exactly like me a few years ago. I could tell she saw it too. Mom? She called out. A woman came to the door, wiping her hands on an apron. She had a smile on her face when she approached, but it fell when she saw me. She told the girl to go play with her brothers. I said, "Hi, my name is Anna. I know this is super weird, but I think I'm your daughter." The woman started tearing up. Out of nowhere, she pulled me into a tight hug. She then started asking me questions like my birthday, where I was born, etc. After I answered her questions, she grabbed my shoulders. "Well then, hi, my name is Louisa," she sobbed. "I'm your mother." Louisa led me into their home, and it was just as I had hoped it would be. I had 2 little brothers, 1 little sister, and 1 older sister, who wasn't there at the time. My interaction with my father, Oscar, was similar to my mother's. We hugged and he asked me a million questions. They invited me in to eat with them, which I gladly did. They didn't stop talking 1 second. All of them were so excited to have me there, and Louisa was constantly tearing up. That day, I went back to the hospital with my biological parents. We witnessed the police arresting the old nurse for everything she had done to innocent families. I sat down with Louisa and Oscar and we talked for a long time. Everything I learned about them made them better in my eyes than my parents. When I thought of my life with my parents, all I saw was gray. It was quiet and boring and nobody understood me there. But Louisa and Oscar's home was a dream. I decided then and there that I wanted to leave my parents and go live with Louisa and Oscar. I opened the door to my house as quietly as I could and slipped into my room unnoticed. I packed everything I needed into a big duffel bag. But when I looked up, I saw my brother looking at me through the window. He was doing yard work, but paused when he saw me. He ran inside and into my mom, immediately asking a million questions. "Where are you going?" he asked, to which I responded, "None of your business." He then asked, "When are you coming back?" And when I didn't reply, he started screaming the question at me repeatedly. I finally snapped and yelled, "I'm not coming back!" He looked shocked. And then he ran out of my room. I thought I was good to go, but then my parents came into my room. "You're not going anywhere, you ungrateful girl," my dad snapped at me, snatching the bag from my hands. "How could you leave us for strangers when we raised you and provided for you all these years?" My mom asked me, clearly trying to manipulate me. My parents pushed me down on my bed and started yelling at me to get me to stay. This went on for a long time. So long that I was getting desperate. And then Louisa and Oscar burst through the door. My parents jumped them, but Louisa and Oscar were stronger than both of them. "Get in the car, go," Oscar said to me while holding back my dad. I locked myself into the car, only opening the doors when I saw Louisa and Oscar running towards me. We were all so shocked at what happened. Louisa and Oscar were having a conversation on whether my parents were dangerous for my siblings in the front of the car. But I was just thinking about how I was going to write the ultimate college essay.
"Mom, why?" I whined like a 3-year-old. "This is very important, Ethan. I'm sorry that it's an uncomfortable situation for you, but you will be grateful in the end," she answered. "My school is perfect already. I've made tons of awesome friends. My teachers are great, and I'm the best one on the swim team. How can you change my school now? For no reason," I continued. "Before I go on, please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. I heard that your crush will text you later if you do. East Gray High School is the best. Yes, your current school is fine, but we want you to have the best possible education. Anyway, it's about time you went to sleep. It's your first day tomorrow," said my dad. I stormed up to my room and sank into my bed. It was Sunday night, and my parents only told me on the previous Friday that they had changed my school. They didn't ask for my input, opinion, or anything. They just threw this on me, and I had no preparation. I didn't even get a chance to say goodbye to my friends. The next day, I woke up moody as hell. "Ethan, I made your favorite breakfast. Hurry up and get ready for school. I'm sure you're going to have an exciting day," said my mom as she tried to get me out of bed. "I'm not going," I said. She gave me her death stare, so I quickly got up and did as she asked. We drove to a location in the middle of the city. "We're here," said my dad. "What? This doesn't look like a school," I exclaimed. Outside, I saw a modern high-rise building. It must have been 30 stories high. Not your typical school at all. We walked in, and there was a receptionist on the ground floor. "Hello, Ethan. Welcome to our school. Your homeroom is on the 10th floor. Mr. Randolph will guide you," she said. Suddenly, a man dressed like a butler appeared and held his hand out. "He'll carry your things to your class," said the receptionist. "Is this a school or a hotel?" I asked my mom. She winked and said, "I'll pick you up after school. Have a great day, honey." Then she left. I was guided to my classroom, which looked nothing like a real classroom. It almost looked like the interior of some weird kind of spaceship. Every student had a computer at their desk, and most of them looked serious, or seriously nerdy. The place was ridiculously luxurious, and apparently personal assistants were assigned to each class. They were like servants, but for the students. There were about 12 other students in my class. In fact, I don't think the entire school had more than 100 students. It was extremely puzzling, given the size of the whole place. Why did the school need so much space? The teachers were also out of this world. They were all impeccably dressed in the most expensive business suits, and they drove the most expensive cars. They didn't seem quite passionate about their jobs either. They weren't like the typical teachers I had in the past who were always smiling and speaking positively. They spoke like they were quite bored with their students most of the time. I was still able to understand what they were teaching, though. I don't think my classmates were any better. Most of them were weird, cold, and unfriendly. I did make one friend, though. Her name was Debbie, and she had started going to this school last year. Just like me, she was transferred abruptly without any warning from her parents. She didn't want to change schools either. One afternoon, we were enjoying a 3-course meal in our school's plush cafeteria when she blurted out, "Ethan, this place is just weird. I feel like something just isn't right. I want to get to the bottom of it all." "What do you suggest we do?" I asked. "We can start by doing some research. See what you can find online. I'll talk to the other students to find out if they know anything or are suspicious about anything," she replied. "Okay," I said while slurping down the rest of my non-alcoholic champagne. That night, I typed the name of my school into Google to see what I could discover. I didn't find anything interesting at first. The school's website just showed pictures of the luxurious rooms, while other websites simply gave directions to the school. I continued clicking next until I came to an interesting chat forum which appeared to have been closed 5 years ago. It was created by a past student of East Gray High School, and students typed comments about what they loved or remembered about the place. The most puzzling comment was by a person named Diana. She typed, "This school isn't ordinary. It is a facility created to train your minds and condition you to hold leadership positions within our country's government. Our parents are all part of a secret society which controls the world. We're owned by this society, and they feel like it is their right to do whatever they please with us. There's a school like this in almost every country in the world." This seemed far-fetched to me. My parents were pretty transparent with me most of the time, and I couldn't imagine that they'd be part of a secret society. I continued reading. "If you don't believe me, there is a floor beneath the main ground floor. To get there, you must press 1 3 times as soon as you enter the elevator. When you get to that floor, walk straight ahead and open the 4th door on your right. That door will lead you to an underground passage which leads to a secret room. That room contains classified documents about everyone who has ever attended East Gray High, as well as the role they were selected to fulfill and how they are controlling society today." It started to seem believable, and I started to feel afraid. Since I was little, it was my dream to someday become a famous interior designer. But according to this conspiracy, I'd never be able to achieve my own dreams as my life belonged to some strange secret society. None of this made any sense to me. I printed Diane's comment and showed it to Debbie the next day. "I think it's true," she said. "How can you believe one strange comment you found online?" I asked. "Because, like I told you, I've had my suspicions about this place for a very long time. Something isn't right about this place," she replied. "So do you want to go try to find this secret room or whatever?" I asked. "Of course, I'll meet you outside, tonight at 7 p.m. Be on time," she said, and she ran off. What have I gotten myself into, I thought. That night, I snuck out of my house and got there early. Debbie was right there waiting for me. "Hey, Debbie. Now, how do you reckon we get inside?" I asked. The building was closed and in complete darkness. "Here, I stole this from the receptionist desk before I left today," she said while showing me a card. She swiped it at the door and it opened. We went to the elevator and did like Diane said. We pressed 1 3 times and we went down quickly. "Oh my God, what are we doing?" I said. "Don't be a baby," Debbie responded. When the elevator door opened on the secret floor, we saw a well-lit white room with many doors. "She said it would be the 4th door on the right as soon as we get out," I said. We walked out of the elevator carefully, then laughed as we both realized we'd been tiptoeing. We got to the correct door, and luckily, it wasn't locked. We opened the door and went inside. It was completely different from the white walls outside. It was a royal blue room with many computers, which were surprisingly on, and filing cabinets which were labeled in alphabetical order. "Whoa, she wasn't kidding," I exclaimed. "I told you," Debbie replied. We began searching. My last name was John, so I looked through the cabinet labeled J. I looked through at least 50 files until I found mine. I opened the folder, and inside I found so much information about me. My birth certificate, health records, report cards from my previous schools, and even pictures of me as a child. The freakiest thing I found was an envelope labeled Future Plans. I opened it carefully and read what was inside. Ethan John has been observed from birth, and we have found him to be analytical and level-headed. Although he has a propensity towards the arts, we believe he is best suited for work leading one of our military units. Thus, he will be trained for this field of work and sent to pursue his career as soon as he graduates from East Gray High. "What? The military of all things?" I said, feeling disgusted. "You should see what I found. Every important leader in our state has attended this school. This is really crazy. I found my file too, and apparently they want me to become a mayor eventually." Debbie laughed. "What do we do now that we found out all of this?" I asked. "Think about it. All of this is top secret. We both don't want to be here," she said while staring at me. It was clear. We'd take videos of all this and blackmail our parents into getting us out of that school. I took out my phone and started recording. I took videos and pictures of almost everything in the room, especially the documents which would do the most damage if they were leaked. Debbie did the same while posing for pictures on Snapchat in between. When we were done, we left the room, went back upstairs, and went home. We did think that it was weird that there were no security guards around, but we felt lucky to have not been caught. The next day at breakfast, I broke the news to my parents. "Hey, Mom and Dad, I never thought you two were such liars," I said. "What?" my mom said while dropping her fork. My dad stared, shocked. "I know that you are part of a secret society and that you only changed my school because you were forced to. But do you think it's right that I should have to suffer because you've chosen to live your life a certain way? I want to live my own life, and you can't dictate my future to me," I said calmly. "How did you find that out? Anyway, you will have no choice but to do as we say. We can face a lot of harm if we go against the society's wishes," said my dad. "You can't force me to do anything I don't want to do. If you don't send me back to my old school, I'll release all the information I discovered to the press," I said while showing them the pictures and videos I had taken the night before. I let them know that I had no intention of going back to that school that day. I left the table and went to my room. After spending a few hours playing video games and listening to music, my parents finally knocked on my door and said they wanted to speak to me. They had to reveal to the society that I knew everything, and in order to protect their privacy, they said I could go back to living a normal life. However, my parents were demoted. This meant that they would have their well-paying jobs taken away from them, and they would have to settle for less. I was sent back to my old school the week after, but my parents were never the same, and we didn't have much money anymore, but I didn't care. If having less meant I would have my freedom, I was fine with that. Debbie and I are still great friends today. She also went back to her old school and is enjoying her life as any teenager is supposed to.